Some breaking news this morning. We just received the very first monthly jobs toll that shows the unemployment rate at 14.7% in April, with a total of 20.5 million registered unemployed. Now, we should remember that that number is actually likely higher, and that the Bureau of Labor Statistics warned in its report, quote, the overall unemployment rate would have been almost 5 percentage points higher than reported on a not seasonally adjusted basis. However, because of the usual practice, the data was reported this way. So
Which seems kind of bizarre that you're even doing seasonal adjustments at this point.
Right.
But
so,
we should, unemployment rate somewhere between 15 and 20%.
Yeah, that is the worst
horrifying no matter what
registered in America since the Great Depression. And I think that is the one thing that we can take away from this. And it's just terrible. It doesn't even necessarily include, I think, the last week of jobs claims, unemployment claims that we just registered here yesterday, 3.3 million, which will just push the unemployment rate even higher. It could go all the way up to past 25%. That's what. It's funny, too, because as we remember when that Federal Reserve chairman said that he was like, I think we could hit 30% unemployment. And people freaked out because they said, oh, that's crazy. I think that's doomsday. Doesn't look so doomsday anymore. You look at these numbers, you're getting 2,000 deaths per day, several thousand cases that continue to go up, social distancing. Nobody seems to have any answers about vaccines or serological testing or any of these other contact tracing, any of the other things. We talked so much about this ad nauseum 2 months ago. We haven't seen any real movement in terms of these things. There's just a real movement to just open up. And at this point, it's just, I don't know how we're going to be able to come out of this okay on either side. Because if you just open up, what's going to happen? A lot of
people are going to die.
Poor people are going to die.
A lot of people are going to die, and it's not like you're going to get the economy back.
And the economy won't come back either.
It's not like people are just going to go out and start shopping again, or going to concerts, or going to restaurants. That's a fantasy, and it's a dangerous fantasy. And the reality is that our policy makers in this time of deep crisis have totally and utterly and completely failed. Mm-hmm. You said this so well. When you look at these numbers, when you look at 1 in 5 American children going hungry, when you look at 1/3 of American families with young children not having enough food in the household, when you look at those miles upon mile long lineups at food banks, remember that this was a choice by the people in this town. They chose to make sure that big business would be fine when we came out of this, and to put an obscenely low cap on the small business funds that were provided. They chose not to try to backstop payroll to keep people attached to their jobs. They've done nothing during a pandemic about making sure people can get health care and not go bankrupt from that. How many of you are struggling to pay COBRA since you've lost your jobs now? It's obscenely expensive. It's insane. Not to mention people who already didn't have health insurance. They made these choices to give so little to the American people to help them get through this crisis. And so, you're presented with this absurd false choice of stay shut down and lose everything, lose your entire livelihood, or reopen, as if those were the only two options, as if there wasn't a third way that so many other countries around the world have been able to accomplish, of making sure that people could survive through this crisis. I will never stop being outraged at this. I just won't. It's unreal. And don't forget, when you see these numbers, it was a choice.
Yeah, it really was. Nothing is intact. Millions of small businesses can just fall apart at the seams. So much of our economy just seems rife for takeover by big business.
40% of small businesses saying they're going to permanently close it. 40%.
It's such a disaster economically, morally. For so many families that, the livelihood. There's just all the way down the line in terms of what's happening across the country. And this really doesn't even really capture it. It's kind of delayed data in a way, at a 20% unemployment rate at the worst, 15% at the best. And then the additional jobs claims are going to be filed this week. Every single day that we continue on this way, it just means another couple 100,000 unemployment claims filed daily. And I don't know if there's a ceiling on this thing. I really don't.
It's outrageous.
So just buckle in.
Absolutely. We'll have more Rising for you after this.